Fridays with PewDiePie.
Hey guys, welcome to my Let's Play channel here. We're gonna play some Minecraft.
Oh, okay, it should be going live. What up, guys? It is Fuel Bandicoot and NR 2003 Gamer.
Yep, it's me.
Oh, wait, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah. Well, actually, no, you haven't shared it yet for me.
Okay, hold on.
Stream it shows it.
Hold on. I thought I did it. Hold on. Yeah, one sec. Okay. Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay. What's up, guys? Fuel Bandicoot.
What's up, guys? Fries or PewDiePie?
Subscribe to PewDiePie.
Yeah, I remember he'll have to beat a T-Post series, or the YouTuber of all time. I don't even know who the heck T-Series even is. Is it just some Indian company, apparently?
Like
I think it's like
India.
It's like an Indian company. It's ridiculous.
There's two of them.
T-Post series. There you go. Easy.
I gotta be sure. It might be. I might be having problems because there's two of them. I gotta see because the last time it wasn't wanting to load.
They like the exact same name too, or is it just like
exact same name? But like, there's one that's the final, but that was the one that Will Hoyt helped me with. And,
yeah, I get you.
And that one didn't really want to load, but this one did. Will Hoyt's didn't load for some reason, so I'm not quite sure. And that's kind of funny because this is not the track layout for this track. that picture right there, that's not the track layout. Okay. What's up, guys? 42 cars here, the same people that went to testing for the Canada at Montreal are here, except we don't have Sean Angel and Rodriguez Racing. We have the second Fitzwater Australia racing team, with Josh Crash here.
I have to pay respects for that.
42 teams. We're rolling off here at Australia. Maybe some frame rate just a little bit, but it's nothing too bad, and it probably will get a little bit better. So DJ, who do you think will be the team to rise to the occasion and actually show some speed for this hour-long test?
I think we're going to see a lot more. Well, it's going to be hard really to decide that because it's going to be more driver-oriented. Again, this is a new track for all these drivers here. So remember, it's just like we're just trying to find boundaries as drivers, really. And this is about a 2.7-mile racetrack, too. So a lot of twists and turns in the course. In terms of teams, I think we're still going to see like the Allen Family Racing team. Well, mostly Ryan Griffin, really, to say the least, is going to be the one to look out for in the practice session again, because he, again, has been the top dog, I guess you could say, on the charts as of recent in terms of most of the testing sessions here. Martin Motorsports could surprise us here. Matt, though, they're a team to look out for. Mace Enterprises is another one. Pretty much the main powerhouse teams we've basically been talking about throughout most of the season, really, are the teams that could be to look out for here. Yep, Motorsports, we could see some progress from them here. We're just gonna literally have to wait and see how things pan out.
As we see, Jordan Davis, Jesse Turner, is a bit of cars and drivers. They have already came onto the racetrack. The frame rate is a little bit down than usual, but still, it's pretty decent, I believe. Is it decent on your end?
It's a bit choppy from time to time there, but it's not as fluid as it was. But I think we should be fine, though. I think we can manage.
There's Jesse Turner. Curious to see how he'll run in testing for here at Australia. Turner, like we even mentioned at Canada, I think for 2019, Turner is going to be very focused for this 2019 season. And a lot of teams are focused with this road course program. Reason they're really focused hard at Canada and Australia, trying to get the road course program fined and tuned very well. Turner, I think, is going to be one of those drivers to look out for next year, and can't wait for March and for the 2019 season to see where Turner can end up.
Then we can see a lot of different liveries here for the 2019 season. That itself is also going to be another exciting portion of the series here, in terms of both series to be exact here, though. The Sony Cup series is pretty much rounding their diversity in the country. Well, now throughout the world, that's probably the better term to say, because now obviously we are in Australia, so different time zone here, a lot of different areas really to adjust, and really it's just going to be quite interesting here. It's kind of like one of those international events you see in other sports around the world, especially like the European series. Like, you know, it looks like a car with damage there.
Charles Sanford has found a lot of trouble.
A lot of damage there already, and we're only like a few minutes into the session, not even a few minutes in, really. We just literally started.
I'm kind of curious to see if the settings are even right for this. Charles Sanford, he has found a ton of problems, and I am curious to see
That's
him
a lot
and
of
his
the Mace
teammates.
cars actually having issues here, so already.
Cody Lamas.
He's got damage.
Wow. I'm kind of curious to see
think it could be
if
a
the
merging?
settings are even right on this. Doesn't quite look. The settings aren't even right for this. We're gonna have to see what could
I'll have to wait and
possibly be
see.
wrong.
Oh my.
Charles
You think it could have been a
Sanford,
merging issue?
right here off pit
Looks
road.
like it's a Dodge, I think, right there.
Will Lewis and Charles
Lewis.
Sanford coming off of pit road. Some contact and into the tire barrier. That was a
Big hit.
heavy hit. And then Cody
Teammate.
Lamas really nowhere to go.
It's a vicious wreck there.
That was a heavy lick for Cody Lamas and Charles Sanford. Not what the Mace Enterprises teams wanted to see.
Most certainly so. That's really a nightmare for literally half their workshop is literally destroyed just like that in the early part of the session here. They still have a lot of time left, though. I mean, we literally have an hour session, but nonetheless, that is just a Debbie Downer for really the both of them. There, see some more contact there. There with Dom Caps there, but really a lot of damage to both the Mace cars. Really, that's just a huge shame.
Backup car for Cody Lamas is in the work. So not even 5 minutes into the session, and that was crazy. The settings quite aren't right even for this, but it should be able to still work. Drivers are going to be finding to be a little bit more aggressive than usual. Cody Lamas and really nowhere to go with his teammate Lewis and Sanford getting a little aggressive off pit road, trying to find the ground to get off the pit road. The fastest driver so far 5 minutes into the session is DJ Curtis. I wouldn't say that's quite surprising. Curtis really knows how to get around on the road courses. However, not everyone has gotten up to a full speed lap just yet. Curtis leads his teammate Caps there in second, Bobby Jones, Jordan Fisher, and a few others. As Jesse Toner just topped the board.
You're not surprised in seeing Jesse Turner really improve his stats here. He's been pretty strong at the road courses as of recent here. So again, Turner is hungry for a championship here, a second championship to say the least there. But yeah, it's going to be quite interesting there. The question about that wreck earlier, you know, that brings a big mind-boggling question here, whether that may happen, whether in the race or not, you know. If we see green flag pit stops, obviously I think we will. The real question is, if two cars come out like that, will we see a similar outcome in the way that wreck occurred, you know? Because, remember, there's going to be different cycles of green flag pit stops. People are going to try and undercut. Some are going to try and extend their tire wear, you know, or their tire life, to say the least, you know? So it's going to be really interesting to see how the characteristics of these tracks come into play, really.
Jesse Toner still being the fastest. A lot of drivers still trying to nail their lap. Not a whole lot of drivers have been able to complete an entire lap full up to speed. Charles Sanford was just starting to leave pit road. And like you said, DJ, that was a horrific accident to start off. And drivers getting real aggressive, trying to find the limit of where they can go. And heading off pit road, I mean, it's very tight, squeezing off pit road.
Narrow.
And, yeah, very narrow, and something the officials and the series are definitely going to be looking into, because that's a scary accident, and it could have ended up being much worse.
You think they're going to be very strict on how they're going to like police that pit lane? Would you say the least, especially when it comes to pit exit?
I believe the SCS officials, they like to think very much in detail with a lot of the stuff like that. And I know they're focused on the 2019 schedule on a bunch of other tracks, and I believe that Phillips Island, the track we're testing here, is going to be under scrutiny as well.
I mean, it is a different track. It's kind of a foreign track, even though it's another road course. We do have a lot more road courses in the schedule here for 2019 here, so it really brings a lot more different type of tracks here. Again, I'm going to emphasize the word diversity here, and we're literally going to different areas across the globe in order to explore these tracks here. And again, as you want to note that Matthew Rodriguez is one of the quickest cars yet again here in the session here. Remember, it's only early on, but as of now, Matthew Rodriguez again putting a statement for the Martin Motorsports camp here. He's going to be the one, in my opinion, that could represent that camp really well here for 2019.
Rodriguez is second best, and that is surprising to me because it's showing that Toyota is making some strides in their speeds. In Canada, Rodriguez was the fastest one. He's fastest of the Toyota bunch here as well, but second best and not even that far off of Jesse Turner. I'm very impressed with Rodriguez and Martin Motorsports bringing cars that are actually up to speed. You see Curtis and Rodriguez, and Sanford, who had that big collision, just jumped to the top of the board.
That is relatively surprising, though, and he was okay after that wreck, as you could tell, because they immediately got the backup car quite well here, and he's trying to get around Kyle Collins on the outside here. Look at that move he's going to try and do, see if he can find some passing opportunities here in the track here. And you notice the new surface on that car, on the track, really, and not really able to get around Kyle Collins quite well that time around, but what a job there for Charles Sanford. Remember, he did win at Canadian Tire in 2017, so he still has some road course expertise in him.
That is super surprising to me that Sanford, leaving pit road, that big collision he had with his teammate, and the backup car just as good or probably even better than the primary. And Sanford up by about 3/10 on Turner.
I do want to note that this track does have a lot of low-speed corners here. So, I mean, there's still straightaway here, the Gardner Straight, which is, you know, when you cross that finish line there, that's one of the more iconic straightaways here in the track. But we really do have a good amount of, like, low-speed corners here. So a lot of drivers going to be hard on the brakes here. Pit lane, as I mentioned, too, is also pretty narrow. So, again, when you try to slow the car down, it's going to be hard to keep that car on the track there when you're coming to the access road.
A little over 10 minutes on the clock have been done. Sanford, Turner, Rodriguez, Mace, Curtis is your top 5. Then you have Davis, Acosta, Griffin, Lewis, and Fitzwater, the top 10.
How about a shout out to Zachary Fitzwater here? Remember, he is a Australian himself, so I think a lot of the Australian crowd members are going to be quite cheerful to see how this 22 car can do on these tracks, and especially in the Australian Tour here.
I think
Can you imagine Zachary Fitzwater a better team? Could you imagine him being a powerhouse at these tracks here? So he is a road course expertise for a reason.
I think Zachary Fitzwater will be very happy with that lap and being 10th on the board, especially for Fitzwater. For Fisher Motorsports, he was way down the order in terms of the time trials at Canada. I mean, he was outperformed by Jordan Fisher by quite a bit and was off the pace by a lot at Canada. And here he is, 10th fastest and the 3rd best Toyota overall.
That is definitely an improvement for the Toyota camp here. Really just the amount of progress they put in, especially in the road course programs here. Fisher Motorsports, remember, Jordan Fisher had a pretty good run in testing at Canada. We do want to note that as well. So Fisher Motorsports picking up some good steps here for the team for both their cars here. Fitzwater kind of struggled in Montreal here, but it looks like he's really good here at Albert Park here. Not really Albert Park, but Phillip Island, excuse me. I confuse those tracks quite often. There's so many different Australian tracks here. So, you know, there's always different series such as like supercars that come into play here. But yeah, Fitzwater doing an impressive job here as of now here. But again, plenty of time left here. We could see different drivers and new faces come up to the charts.
I want to look at some more drivers further outside the top 10. Caps is just outside of it. Kyle Collins, we seen him earlier on the racetrack. He's 12th best. Horizon Group has a car inside the top 10 with Will Lewis. Kyle Collins is there in 12th. Bobby Jones there in 13th. He had a good run at Canada in testing. He is 13th best. Jordan Fisher is 14th, and I'm kind of surprised to see that. Somebody bumped Fitzwater out, and I believe that was Cody Lamas. There he is in 9th. It's a good run for Cody Lamas so far.
And also in a backup car, I do want to note that as well. So their backup car is looking as good as their primary, even though the primary cars didn't really last much in that session, though, to say the least.
Looking further down the order again, some more drivers. There's Jeffrey Fenguy sitting there 16th. PJ Williams, who was out performed by his rookie teammate Jake West, he's there in 17th. His rookie teammate's there in 19th, but not to skip over James Richardson, the rookie for United Emirates Racing, there in 18th. Matt DeLeo 20th.
It's really impressive seeing some of these rookies actually doing pretty good here. Remember, they're not in the best equipment, to say the least, and they're more in the mid-tier, maybe even what some people might consider back-market equipment, but they're doing a really good job here. And remember, these drivers are no stranger to the road courses either, so just because they're rookies doesn't mean they have the doesn't mean they lack the experience in the road courses, so they could be just as good as some of the regulars here. Remember, there are strengths and weaknesses within each driver for a reason here, and some of them, it looks like they might have found their stride here in the road courses.
James Richardson, Luis Hernandez doing battle. Remember, these guys did battle in the Hardee's National Series back in 2017. Old rivals doing battle again. It'll be in the Cup Series. Hernandez taking a peek back down below to the inside of him. Drivers also testing their limits of where they can and can't make passes. Look at Hernandez back on the left side.
Looks like the lines are going to inverse that time around there and into the corner. Hernandez trying to put his nose ahead of that 34 there for a brief moment, still side by side.
I think, like we mentioned at Canada, testing will be a good idea for drivers to see where their passing zones can be. But the data and information you're trying to get from the tires and how the car handles is the most important. But when you come down for the test or come down for the round, which is later on into the season, second half of the season, it'll be very important to know where you can and can't make the passes.
I think there are plenty of passing opportunities, but even so, I do agree with what you're saying there, because there might be some opportunities where it, again, does look like you can pass, but there's just some areas that are just meant to be fit for one car, really. There's only little room for error in this track, because if you go off, you could be done. You could lose a lot of track position.
TJ Martin recently did a number change. He is 20th best, just behind the rookies of Richardson and West. And it looks like Josh Crash has been off in the dirt a little bit. He's got a little bit of damage there as well. He is the slowest driver out. Remember, Crash is one of the few drivers that has to pit on the outside in the dirt because there's not enough pit stalls, as the series and the track are right now working on pit stalls.
Yeah, hopefully they can, the track officials and really just the track makers can figure it out from there, so we can get some proper adjustments so that everybody can have a good shot at entering pit lane at an equal opportunity, to say the least. Though obviously there's going to be some pit stalls that are going to be more advantageous compared to others, but even so, everybody can at least enter in a proper lane.
Kind of surprised a little bit that Martin is 20th. I kind of expected just a little bit better, but he's doing better anyway than some of his teammates, as Bassinger is down in 29th.
It's kind of odd seeing him kind of further down there, you know, like, but then yeah, it's kind of one of the weird characteristics for Jake Bassinger, really, because as you mentioned, and we talked about this a while back, was that he doesn't really have the consistency, really. He can be good at one track, but then suddenly he's just not as good in the other one, you know? So, again, it's one of the major flaws for Jake Bassinger as a driver here, and if they can figure that out, Bassinger can really contend for a championship.
Another driver I expected a lot more for 2019, but the test sessions, they've been lacking. Dejon Weeks outside the top 20. He was outside the top 20 in the Canada test. And here in Australia, for Phillips Island, he is 23rd.
really brings a concern for the Yamp team, really. The road course program doesn't really seem as promising. Jordan Davis, obviously, one of the few exceptions there. We did note he was in the top 10. But really, they're kind of really lacking. Dejan Weeks, you'd think he'd be up there. Remember, he did win Road America in 2018, so we do want to keep that in note. But kind of surprising to see what Dejan Weeks has had under the hood there. He has a fast car, but I think it's just he hasn't really gotten used to the track quite yet.
He's struggling to get around Jake West there. Jack Halleck's 35th best. He is ahead of Nick Pericles in the timesheets by 1 position, as Halleck has actually a pretty good run for them in Roush Family Racing. Caps is there in 12th, but one driver that is really struggling here in this test so far, even though we're not quite 20 minutes into the session. Sean Harple, 33rd.
Yikes.
With Mace Enterprises all in the top 10, besides him, outside the top 30.
Yeah, Harple hasn't really had much speed in that car quite yet, so I think they're just trying to run some laps to really get used to the track here. Maybe we might see Harple really climb up the charts sooner or later. It's just a matter of when, but not much of a... not really kind of a surprise to see Harple kind of further down there at the moment.
Maybe Harple needs to crash his car and go to a backup too, so maybe he can see what his backup's like. I mean, I can't believe how fast the backup was for Charles Sanford and for his teammate Cody Lamas. Lamas there in 6th, and Sanford is still on the top of the board. He's leaped past Jesse Turner, like we mentioned.
Yep.
Sanford and Turner, the only ones to beat a 1:36 lap.
That's really impressive there. I do want to ask a question here. Do you think that when Cody Lamas was in CBM, he had really bad luck and it looks like, and didn't really have the speed to really showcase what he had in mind? And I think once he got into that Mace equipment, he's really showcased what the talent he could possess here for 2019. And if he can really get that bad luck off his shoulders, I think this really could be a good breakout season for Cody Lamas.
I think Cody Lamas has the right team behind him, and he'll have the right amount of power and resources at his hands to get back in a victory circle. We know that he's got 1 win in the series back with Cybertron Motorsports in 2016, but Lamas 7th on the board, and I believe with the speed we see from the Mace cars that Lamas will be winning races this year. 2019 to be exact.
Oh yeah, no doubt. It's going to be cool to see how well these Mace Enterprises cars can do. I don't think many other teams would like to see that, but they're just a team to be reckoned with here. Nick Mace literally just won the championship just recently here, and they're going to be on a tear, hopefully. At least for them, they want to be on a tear so that they can really conquer another championship yet again. So Mace Enterprises just looking really hot on the radar here. All 4 of their drivers, they've got a good lineup here, in my opinion. A lot of teams have good lineups, to say the least, but for them, they have a lot of veterans on their lineup here, and they're going to have a lot of experience on their belt.
Nick Mace is 4th on the charts here. He has been very quick in the test that we've seen. One driver that was really quick at the test out in Montreal was Ryan Griffin. He's only 10th best, which is still a good run. Right there, just a little behind 6/1000ths of a second slower than teammate Ryan Acosta.
Even so, still good run for Ryan Griffin there. Also, Jake Bassinger has climbed his car upwards in the time chart here. He is 6th quickest now there, so I think we've just taken our words back here, because Jake Bassinger is back there. He's right behind another car right behind. That's Sean Harple there. And Charles Sanford, he's in a Mace Enterprise sandwich, to say the least there, so they're all huddled up together.
Boy, very, very close. See Sanford diving up to the inside of the 97. Good run for Charles. I am very impressed with the results we're seeing from Sanford in the test sessions.
I personally don't think I'm really too surprised, because Sanford still has the potential and the talent. He's been a long-time veteran, to say the least, so there's still some spark in him. But I remember we had a talk about him potentially losing that kind of peak. See, I think Bassinger gave him a bit of a shove there in the corner there for a brief moment. But man, Charles Sanford again, he still has that experience and that speed. It's just a matter of whether the execution is properly done or not. So Charles Sanford could be one to look out for, maybe to find a win or two here. So we'll have to look at him. There's a battle there between Collins there and John Bunnell, looks like, and Bunnell has some damage to the right side of his car, you see there. And there's Dylan Young right behind him.
Dylan Young trying to find a way around John Bunnell. Bunnell is 38th best, which I would consider to be a pretty solid run considering he's ahead of Sidner, Klein, Jose Mills, and Crash is yet to post a solid lap down as he's only ran 1 lap and done, as Crash hasn't completed a lap just yet. Young is 26th on the board, and to go along with what we were saying earlier, Yamp Motorsports not finding the speed other than Jordan Davis.
Yeah, at least that for the moment here, because again, plenty of time. That's really just in terms of being repetitive there. As you see there, Baskin getting around Bunnell here. I do want to kind of give a shout out to John Bunnell here, and he himself isn't that bad of a qualifier. I think he's actually surprised some people in where he qualifies, despite not having the results to really showcase in the race. He's got good qualifying trim for that 53 car.
Harple still struggling out there. John Arndt, I think I expected just a little bit more out of Arndt. He is 28th best. The Martin Motorsports cars are 3rd, 5th, and 14th. Arndt's down in 28th position.
It's not really the best sign for John Arndt here. Remember, he is a rookie. Well, I guess not really a rookie to say the least, but he kind of is. He does have some Sony Cup experience on his hand, but Arndt just not looking too good on the collar here at the moment, so it's going to be quite a long season, I'd say, for the 49 team, really. It's going to be a learning season for John Arndt. Caleb Hoffman, remember, he's kind of going through his 2nd year, I believe, because he did win Rookie of the Year, actually, over Dylan Schwallenberg, so he's going to try and go through his sophomore year here, and with some experience in the car, it's going to be quite interesting to see how Caleb Hoffman fares for this season.
Caleb Hoffman, 30th on the board, and I think I expected more out of him as well. I mean, there's some teams that don't seem like they're showing their full hand, and I don't really expect them to go full out in testing, but it is a little bit concerning looking at some of the teams that you would believe that would be higher up on the sheets, like Yamp Motorsports, like John Arndt there, and Caleb Hoffman 30th. I don't know, just expected a little bit more out of Hoffman.
Perhaps so. We'll have to see. I think he might be better off as an oval specialist, to say the least. James Richardson there, not too far behind, or a few lengths behind Hoffman there, but Luis Hernandez, those two have been kind of together throughout most of this testing session here, so I think they're just both trying to test out how long their tires can last here and how much fuel they can last as well, so
I want to go through something here. PJ Williams and Jake West are 18th and 20th. They're in an alliance there, CM Racing with Curtis Racing, but CM Racing is actually quicker than the Curtis Racing cars. They're 18th and 20th compared to the Curtis cars of Hernandez in 23rd and Schwallenberg down in 27th.
It is quite interesting though, but I think really just the result for both teams, they both mutually have just tried to share data with each other, because both know that they need to, if they want to succeed, they need to literally work together in order to further develop the car into the future here. And it's kind of showcased their strength in the Hardy's National Series with both their cars. Both their teams are really getting some wins, and even though Curtis Racing has really had the championship, CM Racing has had the speed really to showcase how winning they could be. So it'll be interesting to see how those two teams can work together throughout the season here as an alliance. And some may think it's a hindrance, but I think for many, for some other like critics, they might think of it as a good, wise decision.
DJ Curtis is one driver that I kind of wondered how he would fare with the Martin Motorsports teams. We really won't know until March comes around at the start of the year to see where everyone kind of is in terms of speed and performance, because the race is completely different whenever you get out there and start battling with each other. But DJ Curtis, he's got his hands full for 2019. He's got Tom Capps, Matthew Rodriguez, and John Arndt as teammates, and all three of them have a lot of talent and could put up a good fight between the two-time champion.
See, all four of them have talent. The Martin Motorsports lineup here. John Arndt, remember, he had a really good breakout season in Hardy's there with a couple of wins. He actually managed to break that streak of bad luck with wins. So though Arndt doesn't really showcase the results, I think we could see him maybe progress even better into the second half of the season here. We'll have to wait and see, really. Toyota hasn't really had the horsepower compared to the Dodges, the Fords, and the Chevys, really, in terms of straight line speed, but in terms of how Martin develops their chassis and how they really determine the suspension and everything, how they adjust the car, to say the least. It's going to be quite an interesting turn in terms of the road courses and those that aren't going to be as power dependent.
We'll go through some drivers we haven't really talked about in this session yet. Zayden Davidson is 29th. His teammate Bobby Jones, who was quicker than him at Canada. Jones is 15th on the board, while you have Davidson in 29th. And I'll go ahead and say it again. Oh, slight contact there from Kyle Collins. I don't believe Collins was expecting Davidson
Braked a bit too early, maybe.
And look at Sanford. Has a fast car able to run up on him.
Still kind of rubbing each other that time around there, but I think Davidson was on the brakes a bit earlier than Collins there. Remember, Collins is faster than that 13 car. Saying Davidson's kind of struggled with his car, despite the shift to the Ford team. The Ford manufacturer, to say the least there. Sanford, again, just trying to navigate his way around Kyle Collins there.
Sanford has a really fast car. That car can go anywhere he wants it to. And Collins, he's 11th on the board. Very impressive run. He's actually better than his teammate Will Lewis now after improving a little bit. But Davidson, his car seems like he's just not handling the way he wants it to. And it's good to be testing at these tracks for Davidson, for him to kind of get that under his belt and learn a little bit with the car. But he's got an uphill climb to do, especially for the road course program they've been testing here recently.
No doubt. It's really kind of concerning how Zayden Davidson, remember, he had a really good run at Road with a third place run there, and if Mason Curtis had wrecked out, he could have been the victor there. But Zayden Davidson just not really having the speed in that car here. It's just kind of a shame to see Davidson kind of struggle with his race car. As he comes down pit lane, they're probably going to try and find some adjustments for that Ford there, but Davidson hasn't really had a good car to really determine where he's running.
Going to look at some more. Here's Johnny Gardner, Red Stallion Racing. They've been very quiet in the last few years. Red Stallion Racing probably had a year to forget. In 2018, failed to qualify for a good bit of races with Stephen Pollard III. Now they have Johnny Gardner as their lead driver, 37th on the board. They still have an affiliate teammates with the Blue Flare Motorsports team. They're getting some help from them. And like we mentioned at Canada, this team kind of unknown at the end of this year in 2019 because of it being a satellite team to Blue Flare Motorsports. And with Blue Flare Motorsports, this being their final year in 2019, many point to Red Stallion Racing. It could possibly be the end for them too.
It'll be quite interesting to see how Red Stallion really prevails over that. And again, with Blue Flare Motorsports shutting down, and there were rumors already circulating about another team buying those assets here. But the real question is who would be in charge of that alliance to really showcase, you know, their help. Unless it's like a mutual equality kind of alliance, we don't really know who's going to be the head honcho out of all of them, you know.
Rodriguez moving his way up just a little bit. He is third best, beating his lap a little bit earlier, and still holding strong. I think we've mentioned this earlier, though, but Matthew Rodriguez, I believe, can be and will be the driver that gets Martin Motorsports the wins they need. And I believe that if there's going to be a driver that gets Martin Motorsports their first win and Toyota their first win in a while, it'll be Matthew Rodriguez. I think he has the ability and has really shown the speed to do so.
And remember, when he joined Martin, he was already quick off the bat there. He showcased a lot of his road course expertise and just a lot of overall consistency within the team there. And he's been a valuable asset, to say the least, for that team, really. Dom Capps as well, though Capps has kind of faded a bit of a bump there from Johnny Gardner there. Gardner kind of maybe a bit
very interesting. These drivers have ran very long runs to see what the tire wear would be like and to kind of get a real good feel of a long run. But Gardner and Red Stallion Racing look a little quicker than the Martin car here.
You might want to consider maybe the factoring of the tire wear as well, maybe the age of the tires as well, so tire degradation could be a big factor here with this race, obviously with a lot of twists and turns in the track. I think it's sure to be a factor, to say the least.
I'm not quite sure.
Being random on the outside there, might be fresher tires maybe.
I'm not quite sure the age of their tires, but they have ran about the same time, same laps on there, but I'm not entirely sure how long Gardner has been out there on those tires to be exact.
maybe a lap younger. But even so, that makes a big difference, really.
Shows that tire wear is a big factor, and that pit strategy can and will be a factor whenever it comes time to racing in 2019 here. That's going to be something that the teams will take away for sure.
But yeah, that was interesting, though. It does give us a good emphasis on the importance of tires in the race there. And as we mentioned, tire age is just going to be a big factor here, because if you abuse your tires too quickly, you're going to fade in the run here. And so a lot of drivers that are really good at tire conserving, they're going to make their way upwards through the pack here. And that itself could be a fun way to watch these drivers pass each other in the road courses here.
Hayden Klein had a third place run in the Daytona 500 earlier this year. It's probably the highlight of his year, but he had a pole at South Boston. It was a big moment for him to get the pole. And also the outside front row at Charlotte Roval battled for the lead at the start of the race at Charlotte Roval against Jesse Turner. Klein has had a very up and down year. I mean, for Hayden Klein and his own race team, I'm not entirely sure where their expectations lie, but the team not really as high up the order as they would like. I think Klein is just hoping to make races, have fun, and get as good a finish as possible.
I think they just seem to find just either the right setup or just really the right place at the right time for that team, and it just doesn't seem like it's going to be one of the golden moments here today. Here, Jordan Davis, you know, that Ford not too far behind him. Again, he's been kind of the exception, at least in this session, of how fast the Yamp car is at the moment. So we're still, Jordan Davis had a really dismal year, to say the least there. It really just faded from existence in the 2018 season. So I think he's really trying to turn things around here in 2019. So Jordan Davis just getting around Hayden Klein quite easily there. So not much of a hassle for Davis, but
Jordan Davis had he had a horrible year. Almost fell outside the top 20 in points, and I've never seen Davis fall that low in points. That was the lowest I've ever seen with him in a top car, and that was the breaking point in him moving to Yamp Motorsports. And Davis has talked highly of Yamp Motorsports and thinking that this is a team that could help him provide him a chance to go after his third Sony Cup Series championship. And only 3 drivers on the grid for 2019 shooting for the third title and record-breaking titles of Mace, Curtis, and Davis as well.
I have a question for you. This might be a bit way too early to ask, but out of all the drivers that have yet to win a championship here, and again, this is only early in the season, so we still have obviously a million races to go, and that's itself an exaggeration. But who would you think had the best shot at winning a championship, their first ever championship?
That's a hard question. Ryan Griffin looked really quick at Canada, and has really shown that Allen Family Racing Team is there. And Cody Lamas on Mace Enterprises, Sean Harple there as well, Charles Sanford. The 3 drivers other than Mace on the Mace team, they all have looked really quick. They've not won a championship other than Mace. I think all of them can be big threats.
Matthew Rodriguez. I think
Rodriguez there for Mason, for Martin. That would be a very big turnaround. Martin Motorsports is hoping to really prove a lot of critics wrong. And before we see some racing on the racetrack, I'm not entirely sure where Toyota will lie. But it is very promising to see that we see 2 Toyotas in the top 5, even though we don't see any more in the top 10. You see the Martin Motorsports team really providing cars that are capable, at least on the road courses we've seen, that are up here and have speed to challenge for the wins.
So it looks like it's a really good stepping stone for the Toyota camp here, and maybe it's just had to be the right team that could adjust to the car properly here. And I think Martin Motorsports looks like they might have found that spark within the Toyota camp, and maybe some good optimism for the other Toyota teams here to say that, hey, we could contend against those Fords and Chevys and Dodges as well. And we do want to note, as we mentioned, Fitzwater had a really good, stellar run here, at least in this session as of now. Still pretty good run for the 22 car here.
Fisher Motorsports is the second best Toyota team out there, with Fitzwater ahead of Dom Capps. They're in 13th position, and Jordan Fisher's there in 16th. So that is a fantastic run for Fisher Motorsports to be this high up on the sheets, and I was surprised with Fisher in the top 20. He's even better here in Australia.
Really good showing for the Fisher camp here. Really just, that's awesome to see, really, a team like that. And again, most people think of that team as pretty much a back market team, but they're really proving a lot of people wrong here this season. They could be potential mid-pack team, to say the least here. Maybe outperforming the car more than anticipated here. The Toyota body, really just the new body for these cars, could really prove to be a big bounce. One car spinning around.
Dodd and Bobby Jones have made contact, and Bobby Jones 15th on the board. Dodd, who was further down on the sheets outside the top 30, struggling compared to his teammates 32nd. They made contact heading into the inner loop, and we're going to get a replay of what just happened.
See, Dodd, I think, might have been on a fresher tires here. We're going to see where this comes into play here. Bobby Jones. Oh, Dodd, look how fast Dodd got into that corner there. Really a good high-speed corner there. Just got into the back of Bobby Jones there. Probably just maybe the fresher tires there just came into play a bit too quickly there.
See, I think Bobby Jones may have covered up the line a little quicker than what he expected Dodd to run up on him as.
Yeah, they wrecked around turn 10, I believe, so...
Looks as though Dodd has fresh tires.
Yep.
He's all over Charlie Smith, who is highly regarded as a pretty good road course ringer as well. He's 26th on the board, not doing as good as a job as he was out at Canada, but is covering up the position very much so on Dodd, and Dodd is trying to figure out a way to get around him.
Fuel Brothers Racing really coming back from the ashes, to say the least. That'd probably be the better term to say, but they're not looking too bad, but they're not looking too good either. So they're kind of around the same area they've been here in, like, when they left in 2017. So again, we're still waiting to see how Fuel Brothers Racing really comes into play, and Don's still on him through the Gardner straight there. I think he might try and use some slipstream here, maybe some draft to maybe get around that 47 here. We're going to wait and see what Don does here. Some dirt kicking up there, so they're going to get a bit of a windshield there, and there you see Don getting around him quite easily.
Dodd, we're going to see what he can do maybe on this lap to try and maybe get up on the timesheets just a little bit. They're just running down some of the drivers outside the top 30 here. Eric DeMax, 31st. Dodd, 32nd. Harple still has not done anything any better than what he did earlier. He is 33rd. Chris Lubier, 34th. Jack Halleck, actually a pretty good run for him, in 35th. Nick Pericles, 36th. Johnny Gardner, 37th. John Bunnell, 38th. Garrett Sidner, 39th. 40th, Hayden Klein. 41st is Jose Mills. And 42nd is Josh Crash. And Crash is still not managed to go out and make a full-timed lap in the 29 car. And he's ran into a lot of damage as well.
Not quite sure what happened there. I think we might have to look back to see how that happened, really. I haven't really...
He's already been in a bunch of trouble.
What happened there?
A bunch
might
of
have
trouble.
Just... Oh,
heading into,
might have to go a bit further.
Further back. He possibly got into some problems leaving pit road.
You think it could have been a pit lane issue again? Some
bad problems for the drivers that leave pit road. There's only been a handful of drivers further back. Sidner is one of them, and another crash with Bunnell.
Bunnell there, so both the Fitzwater Australian racing cars already having issues on the track. And that is really a double whammy for them. I think Bunnell was just trying to get out of the way. And
Zayden Davidson runs into him.
Bad break for Davidson here.
That is something the officials will definitely need to try and look over and try and fix. That is for sure. Is the final pit stalls for the drivers outside of the top 38, because there's 4 spots for drivers that have to pit outside of the barriers. And they are finding more trouble than not. And Josh Crash, out there with a damaged race car, gonna limp it back around.
Holding up some cars.
Up on the top of the board, however, Charles Sanford is still on the top. A lot of drivers still have not been able to better their lap. A lot of drivers are focusing on a long run now. It is Sanford and Toner, the only drivers to beat a minute 36 lap. They're first and second. Rodriguez is there in third. Mace fourth, Curtis fifth. Bassinger in fifth, or Bassinger in sixth. Seventh, Cody Lamas. Eighth, Jordan Davis. Ninth, Ryan Acosta. And 10th is Ryan Griffin. No change in the top 10, but we're seeing some drivers really getting after it.
Yeah, the big bottle up of cars right there. A lot of Fords within a blanket there. Bobby Jones getting passed by Davis there. Caleb Hoffman trying to find a hole there and not able to really get it to work there, as you see Eric DeMax trying to run away from those gaggle of cars there. And there's the Nationwide car, I believe, with Jake West not too far behind them as well. So Jake West has really kind of impressed not really impressed me personally here. I didn't expect really both the CM cars to do that good here. Well, they were going to be good, but they've really exceeded expectations, to say the least.
CM Racing have really done well getting prepared for the 2019 season, and I believe that is something to be proud of here for the road course cars. They're both of them in the top 20. I believe that's better than what they expected. West really fighting with Bobby Jones to try and fight to get around him.
Probably gave him a bit of a shove there. Bobby giving room, bit of contact there. And West able to get around Bobby Jones quite easily there. Good overtake from the 3 car there. You see Charles Sanford coming into the picture as well. So I feel like they're already
Bobby Jones had look at his last lap, a minute 44. He is on a long run for sure.
A hot lapper. Either a hot lap. Remember, he did spin just recently, so might have just been on a hot lap just now. So he might have just came out of pit lane, maybe. And there you see Charles Sanford back on the bumper of that 98 there again, just showcasing that Mace horsepower compared to the Ford engine of that Hero Motorsports car there. Charles Sanford reeling him in yet again. Let's see if he can make a move into turn 1. Waits to see this time around. Very conservative route there. And then you saw a battle a bit up further there, but Ryan Griffin looking good there. As you see West now going underneath Jordan Davis here. So wow, Jake West really.
I think that's where the CM Racing cars really excel, is through the tight swinging corners. Is
the low speed corners there.
Jake West and team really able to find the ground to be really quick in the corners. But further back, Ryan Griffin has jumped up to third.
There's that speed we've been looking forward to for Ryan Griffin here. Again, he's been really confident this year, to say the least, and he's been so happy being in that 43 car, and I think that's really showcasing these results here. Ryan Griffin's going to be a very confident man coming into this regular season.
Dejon Weeks is another driver that just jumped up with Griffin. Both of them fresher tires, trying to get around Bobby Jones. They have been on a hot lap here together, and Weeks is up to 6th, Griffin into 3rd, and Bobby Jones struggling around this racetrack on older tires.
Yeah, more cars fighting that dirt, you know. Ooh, man, got ran over for a bit there. Dejon Weeks certainly will not appreciate that there. He got hit by Charlie Smith for that moment.
Whoa, contact slightly.
Going through the grass there too. That was a bit dicey there from Dejon, but got around Bobby Jones quite easily there. Maybe he wasn't too happy that the 98 was holding him up there as well. So Weeks is climbing up the charts. I think he really just wants to get around these cars quite easy as well. As you see Ryan Griffin now on the bumper of Charles Sanford here. Let's see. He's also going to back off into the corner here. Wait to see if Sanford makes a mistake there. And he's going to make a move to the inside of Charles Sanford.
What a move.
There. Late on the brakes.
I can't wait to see racing
Good
on this
overtake.
racetrack. Some awesome moves on this track. So interesting to see where the passing zones are. Look at, here's Cody Lamas, Fitzwater, and some more contact.
Smoke up there.
Caleb Hoffman gonna get a replay of what happened here. He was
West.
Jake West. There's Eric DeMax.
The
James
tight
Richardson
corner here too.
And West trying to get up the inside. Hoffman didn't really want to give it to him. Spun sideways, but is gonna keep it going.
Went for a hole that kind of wasn't really there. It's a high-speed corner there. Same area where Bobby Jones spun too, so car went off there. Funnel. Right in front of traffic too. That's not going to be good, pretty.
John Bunnell found some damage. Remember, he is one of the drivers as well that has had to pit outside of the track and have found a little bit of trouble as well. And a little bit of contact there with Griffin, but a big wad of cars. So we'll keep watching here. Griffin up the inside, trying to get around Fitzwater. Fitzwater trying to get around Lamas. And look at Griffin sails it off in there.
That's exciting.
And here comes Caps around the 38, and Caps underneath of Sanford. Sanford getting held up by Bunnell.
Just a massive wad of cars. Just everybody just jammed up behind John Bunnell. Cars coming down pit lane, trying to evaluate their data as well. As Caps just got around John Bunnell there, while Sanford and Charlie Smith are still getting held up by John Bunnell for the time being. They're just kind of staying in line. There they go.
This is very interesting to see where all the passing zones are. A lot of work, I believe, the officials will be doing. Oh, look at Smith on the inside of Sanford.
Newer tires, looks like.
Yep.
I feel like it's the newer tires there. That's going to be so important in the race here, especially if you stay out for a longer time. You're going to lose a lot of time, but depending on how consistent your laps are, you could be able to catch them back up. So
I think that is something that a lot the teams and drivers are really taking away here, is that tires are going to mean a whole lot. And trying to get information on this track, never ran here before, and trying to make sure, not only for the teams, even the officials, making sure that this track will need some work with the final few pit stalls on pit road. They're trying to make sure all teams are taken care of, as 4 teams was not able to fit on the pit road. Reasons why some cars have had more troubles than others getting on and off pit road, and possibly some more work to be done on the track with drivers leaving pit road.
Most certainly there's Zayden Davidson now looking around Charles Sanford there, and really trying that 13 car, also probably on new tires as well. So Davidson again has kind of struggled in this practice yet again. Really, these test sessions, looks like I think someone might have blown up. Actually, might have been from an earlier incident there. Not sure what happened there.
Yeah, I see a car blowing up. John Art. It looks like it's John Art in the 49. He has fell out of the session and went to the garage. You can see there the 49 of John Art has had an engine, and it looks like, yeah, some engine, maybe something. I'm not sure what happened to John Art. Oh, some contact with Jesse Turner. Gonna get a replay here. And Turner trying to fight his way up the inside, and some slight contact there, and into the tires.
Big hit.
So Art, who wasn't having the best session overall anyway, 29th on the board, is not going to be pleased with that one.
And that really is a shame for John Art here too. So, but yeah, that just shows how the limitations come into play, how aggressive you're going to get with these corners, how you tackle these corners here in order to get the best lap you can in the race and when you qualify, because that's going to be fundamental in where you end up in the race, because track position does matter a crud ton in road courses here. Really, any track position is pretty much key. It's just a matter of how you manipulate your way past drivers here and how you evaluate yourself and the way you use strategy to your advantage.
Chris Dodd, 32nd on the board. Another test session for Dodd on the road courses. He'll tell you road courses aren't his forte, but when you're running in 32nd on the board and your team is up in the top 15, it's just not a good session for Dodd.
44 team has just kind of struggled overall here these past couple sessions here, so might be a bit of a concern for Chris Dodd at the moment here, but we'll have to wait and see how really he does in the ovals and the short tracks, really, because Chris Dodd does have some good tracks to run, really, but looks like road courses, as you mentioned, aren't his forte here. They're going to try and work on that much harder for Dodd in order to get much better at them, in order for him to potentially be a contender for these wins in the up-and-coming years.
Dodd is the slowest Dodge on the racetrack. He's 32nd. The next slowest Dodge is Jeffrey Fenguy, and he's running pretty slowly. I think he may be on some old tires and
going for a long run trim.
Yep, he is very much slower. A minute 45 was his last lap, nearly 10 seconds off of his best, which is Huge and contact. TJ Martin getting spun by
Even
Davidson.
the tires.
It's another time that Davidson's run into another car. And Martin, that is, they were fighting into that corner for the same, position.
Corner. Honda corner. I think it's. I don't think it's Honda corner this time around actually, but just a wow.
Davidson
just late on the brakes there.
Him.
Just pretty late on the brakes that time around there. So
that's nearly an affiliate teammate there that Davidson got into. That remember, Hero Motorsports getting a lot of help this year from Turner Performance, and a number change. We've seen TJ Martin. He was going to be the 71, then changed it to the 12, and now after the test at Canada, they changed it back to the 15. So, team's still really planning what they're doing with this car, and the 15 of TJ Martin going behind the wall late in this one.
There's been so much hype around TJ Martin though, and to him finish second up in the point standing is similar to his father in a championship. I mean, I guess it's like father like son, but. Not sure how TJ Martin will fare.
A lot of drivers jumping up here late in the end of this session. How about Dylan Schwellenberg jumping up to 5th?
Really impressive run there. And I think you might have heard the news of DC Solar actually getting raided by the FBI, so we're not sure if that sponsorship will stay longer for that team, but we're going to have to wait and see how things pan out, and that's the case, they'll still stay on. But Dylan Schwellenberg really picking up his P's and Q's here. New equipment here, new assets. Remember, they're in charge of the program here with CM as well, so the affiliation still remains as strong. But great showing for Dylan Schwellenberg here. He mentioned that he was so confident in these road courses here, just couldn't quite have the car behind him in 2018 to really showcase that.
And another driver that did jump up into the top 10 late in this one, Don Capps. He's got a little bit of front end damage. Josh Crash is continuing to ride around with a damaged race car. I believe that's the only car that team has, but he's coming back into pit road, but that team has been struggling. You see him pulling into pit road.
Get some dirt track racing right there.
See, that's something the officials will definitely need to be working on with this racetrack to make sure that they can have the car, the pit road fixed. But Capps is one of the drivers that are up on the order in 9th position. Some more drivers fighting. Passing zones are going to be very interesting when we come time for a race. And late in 2019, Griffin underneath of Hoffman.
Stoner. And they're probably going to come up towards Honda. The Honda corner right there, and just a hard braking zone right there. You just got to be hard on those brakes there. Try not to lock them up because you don't want to ruin your tires in the process there. So they're coming up towards Jose Mills. Ryan Griffin's going to have to find a way to manipulate his way around slow traffic here. That's going to be a big key in the race as well, especially if you're a front runner here. And it's a matter of how you
with some more tires. He's already kind of off the pace as is. So
Fitzwater getting held up.
Fitzwater with DeMax, Capps, and Young all trying to find a way. How about DeMax underneath the Fitzwater? Jose Mills really playing a backmarker role on Fitzwater here in testing. So everyone trying to find a way around him.
Yep. Turn 10 is going to be an interesting corner to say the least, though. We've seen a lot of those incidences happen really, actually more in the Honda corner, which is turn 4, and turn 10 itself. Those are going to be some good passing areas, but could be a good area for attrition for the fans if they want some excitement there in terms of crashes. Those might be the areas to look out for, as well as maybe the exit pit lane, because things could get dicey when it comes to pit strategy as well.
Dylan Young down to 30th at the end of this one. I am kind of disappointed in the run that the 88 team is having in this test session.
I'm honestly surprised myself too. Dylan Young has been on a hot streak in the second half of the season. We've both mentioned that several times here. And again, it's only one track though. These testing times won't really matter. They do matter, but when it comes to the actual race weekend, that's when we're actually going to see the real results come into play here. So remember, it's still a long ways to go here in the season. And really, we haven't technically started the season. But this is just, again, an area for just teams to evaluate data and see the progress that they have and the potential they could have in terms of speed. For the 2019 season here, you see Jose Mills continuing to hold up. More cars this time around. This time Sean Harple getting held up there as he gets around him through turn 11, looks like.
Harple has jumped up to 15th now. Davis has fell down the order to 12th, and Fisher's there in 19th.
And Fisher again, like I said, really good run for him. Contact
Fisher.
there.
Maybe he got a little tired of being held up because he just flat ran over Jose Mills. Mills doing all he can to keep the Cloud9 car off the tire barrier. Good job for him. Whoa, way off the corner. Really tight. Just barely clips it.
You lose so much grip, though, in the grass, though, when you're on those tires, you know. So it's hard to just get on the brakes because that car will just slide off. It's like ice on the track.
Cloud9 Racing doesn't have the most funding of all the teams, and Jose trying to do all he can to keep from damaging that car even more. So we're going to look here at some more drivers. Coming down to the closing minutes here. Anybody in the top 10 here that surprised you? Charles Sanford, they're the fastest one. Jesse Turner, Matthew Rodriguez, he has jumped up past Ryan Griffin here near the end. Griffin in 4th. Schwellenberg there in 5th. Mace is 6th. 7th is Dejon Weeks. 8th is DJ Curtis. 9th, Dom Capps, and Jeffrey Finguy jumping up late in the session up to 10th.
It's a good run for Jeffrey Finguy here. We know he's a great road course racer here, so we don't want to count out that 92 team yet. Remember, they did win at Canadian Tire this year, or 2018, so we know that that's been an iconic victory for the Finguy Satomi team here, so this is great progress for them. They kind of didn't showcase much in Canada, but one of the main surprises, I think, throughout most of this top 10 is literally Dylan Schwallenberg here. We don't really see, again, a team that progresses so well, or really a driver like that. Remember, it's a sophomore year, so you expect a driver with lack of experience to really be upwards in that top 10 or even the top 5.
Jeffrey Finguy. Jeffrey Finguy jumped up to second.
That's amazing.
Jeffrey Finguy late in the session. His last lap, and probably the last lap of this session that'll count. He jumps up to second.
That's awesome progress there. And they really, I think Finguy's figured out the track here. I think he might have mastered it just now, though he might not be as fast as Sanford. He's still right there. So Jeffrey Finguy again, as I mentioned, the Finguy Satomi team has been one of the more faster building teams, despite them dropping to one car. That car itself is still pretty fast. He goes a bit wide in the corner that time around.
It looks like he had got really loose, but he looks like
might have had some wheel hop.
Yep, it looks like he is going to call it a test session and be done with it. But man, that is it. And how about Nick Mace? Late in the session too. I mean, right there at the very end, he jumps up there into second.
Lurches here.
A lot of drivers being very, very late in the session, jumping up and beating their laps. Mace, fantastic show for him to jump up. Man, some of these drivers trying to find some more speed late in this session. See if anyone else can't do it. Doesn't look like it, but that is going to be it. But Finguy, a great run for him nonetheless, like we were mentioning. To jump up there, he was kind of struggling, but Finguy Satomi and Allen Family Racing Team continuing to be really quick together and being a really strong alliance.
Yeah, it's certainly just so interesting to see how the Dodge teams have really worked together. And in both series, the Dodge teams kind of lack cars compared to, you know, the surplus of like Chevys and Fords, to say the least, you know. And it's so interesting to see them work together because it's such a small pact, to really say the least.
As all the cars come steaming across to finish off their lap, they're allowed to finish one more lap. Some drivers I've seen Art just trying to pull out, but that lap won't count for him.
I don't know if it will count.
And
don't think so.
that is it. That'll be it for the test session. We're going to look at the times. How about this? Charles Sanford, fastest on the sheet by nearly a good bit, like over 2/10 over Nick Mace. Jeffrey Finguy's there in 3rd. Jesse Turner there in 4th. Matthew Rodriguez there in 5th.
Griffin climbed up.
Griffin's there in 6th. Schwellenberg 7th, 8th. Weeks 9th is DJ Curtis, and in the 10th position is Dom Capps.
11th is Jake Baskin here. 12th, Cody Lamas, Jordan Davis, and 13th, Ryan Acosta. Quiet run there in the 14th position. Kyle Collins, 15th. Sean Harville climbed up. Actually, remember, he was like 30th in quickest times, but now he's up to 16th. Will Lewis, 17th. Zachary Fitzwater, the hometown hero, to say the least, the country hero. In 18th, Bobby Jones, 19th. And Jordan Fisher rounds your top 20 here. Good runs for the Fisher team, really, overall.
Jake West and teammate PJ Williams, great runs for them, 21st and 22nd. TJ Martin found some troubles a little bit in this session. He's there in 23rd. James Richardson, a pretty good run, top 25, 24th for him. Zayden Davidson there in 25th position. Charlie Smith and teammate Matt DeLeo, 26th, 27th. Luis Hernandez, not as quick as his teammate, but he's down in 28th position. John Art, 29th and 30th for Dylan Young.
31st, we have Caleb Hoffman, Eric DeMax, 32nd. Chris Dodd, 33rd. Nick Pericles, 34th there. Jack Halleck for the Roush family team, 35th. Chris Lubia, 36th. Bluefair Motorsports kind of struggling in this program here. Really just struggling overall in testing. And so we want to kind of note that. Johnny Gardner, 37th. John Bunnell, 38th. Jared Sidner, 39th. And we have Hayden Klein in 40th. But then wrapping it up are Jose Mills in 41st. And Josh Crash in 42nd there with a dismal time of 1 minute 55 there. So probably not the best time for him and not really reflective of where he could have ran.
And that is going to be it for testing here in Australia. We have 3 other tracks, 1 oval and 1 more. We have a street circuit that'll be ran for the Australian Tour. We have 3 races in Australia, 3 races in Canada, and they're bound to be very exciting. At the Canada test, it was Ryan Griffin that was quickest. He was quickest by half of a second, and not big a margin here in Australia from first to second, but